Voters began casting in-person ballots at Atlanta's State Farm Arena at around 8:30 Eastern this morning. These races, which will determine the balance of power in the Senate, have garnered national attention and millions of dollars in fundraising. Democrats need to win both seats to secure the Senate majority, while Republicans, they only need to win one. So CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns is following the latest from Atlanta and joins us now. All right, the entire country continues to be focused on Georgia, Caitlin. How will early voting differ from November's general election? If anyone's been following along, we know that in Georgia, they, I think, counted the ballots 3 times. The general election ballots, hopefully that will not be necessary for these 2 Senate races.
That's right. Good morning. This is the election that never ends. So here we are again covering these Senate runoffs, these crucial races that, of course, will determine the balance of power in the Senate. Early voting begins in Georgia today at 8:30. Doors opened here at State Farm Arena. Remember, during the general election campaign, this arena was transformed into a voting center to allow for people not to have to stand in line, allow for social distancing in a pandemic. You can see these voting booths right behind me. So it's still early in the day. We expect more people to be coming in here. Early voting lasts for 3 weeks here in Georgia, and all 4 campaigns are encouraging voters to vote early because this is kind of coinciding with the holiday season. Christmas is around the corner. These campaigns want to make sure that everybody gets out to vote in these critical races and that they kind of make it part of their holiday planning. So being able to vote early here helps to kind of get it done with before the holidays and, of course, before the January 5th election. One key difference in this election compared to the general election just a few weeks ago, really, is that the state is mandating that ballots be processed a week before Election Day. That's important because that allows at least the processing of the ballots. Remember all those delays that we saw in the general election because a lot of states weren't able to start processing those ballots early. They want results as quickly as possible because this election is January 5th and the new Congress convenes on January 6th.
You know, Caitlin, David Perdue, who's running for one of those 2 Senate seats in Georgia, made appearances on Fox News, and you sort of get a sense of the dilemma the Republican Party finds itself in right now, right? Perdue essentially saying that the election in Georgia was totally rigged against President Trump, but that he still won his election. So you're getting this sort of, schizophrenic approach to politics in that state, where on one hand they're saying, the election against President Trump was rigged, but you should totally trust all the other Republicans who either won seats or maintained their seats in the Senate and in Congress. Oh, and by the way, we probably won too.
Yeah, a lot of mixed messaging coming from Republicans, and that's the big question, right? Whether that rhetoric coming from the president, who is undermining the results in many of these states, including here in Georgia, again, without any evidence. The results here have been certified 3 different times. There have been 3 recounts here in Georgia. So on one hand, you have the president saying that this election was rigged. On the other hand, Republicans need base Republican voters to turn out in these runoff races. So that's something we'll be watching over the next few weeks, is whether people are not going to turn out because they believe this election is rigged. So you hear Republicans in this state encouraging people to vote early and to vote absentee. Another kind of contrast with how they ran the general election campaign, because they know that runoff elections, because they happen in kind of unconventional times, they're all about turning out your base of support. And that's the big question heading into the election day, is can they turn out those voters?
And I'm wondering, Caitlin, here, whenever we discuss these 2 races, sort of on the national level, we kind of lump them in together, 4 candidates, 2 races, and we sort of always sort of frame it as this will determine the balance of power in the Senate. But I'm wondering, in Georgia, is that how voters are thinking about it? It's also their local representatives. So I'm wondering what's being said to the voters in Georgia to win them over.
It's a great question, Anne-Marie, and this has really become a nationalized campaign because so much hinges on these 2 seats, and it's kind of very untraditional The Republicans are arguing that this is the last line of defense, kind of a check on power of a Biden administration. Again, that's in contrast with what the president was saying because he hasn't conceded, so complicated messaging there. The Democrats are arguing that this will be determinative for whether Joe Biden can get any of his agenda done. They are very much running this campaign as a way to help Biden's agenda in the Senate. So those are the messages coming from this campaign that has taken on really nationalized importance. But there is some nuances in the two races. Take, for example, David Perdue, who you mentioned. He actually ran ahead of President Trump in the general election by about 800 votes. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but it could be, and it also suggests that there were voters that voted for Biden and Perdue. And so that's kind of a group that Republicans are targeting as well, kind of this check on power messaging.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns for us. We appreciate it as always, Caitlin. Thank you.
Thank you.